My name is Tom Pearson, and I am a principal engineer. So I'm an electrical engineer, well, mechanical and electrical, but my favorite piece, there's really two. One is an oscilloscope, and the other is a Swiss Army knife, because that allows me to take things apart, and the oscilloscope allows me to kind of see what's going on inside. So one clearly was my father, and the reason is that he was a mathematician for NASA back in the 60s, worked on the Apollo, very knowledgeable man, and really a role model for me in my professional career and pursuing science to the best that I can. The other one, though, that really my career in a way more mimics is my grandfather, who was a high school dropout, but a farmer and a very successful one. And he was very innovative. I used to go back to his farm every year and help out, and just seeing all of the mechanical equipment, seeing how he fixed it and kept things running. He also, back in the 30s, made a propeller by hand out of wood, hooked it up to a generator and charged batteries so that his farmhouse could have lights way back in the 30s. And that, to me, that is like so inspiring that he was able to do that. My father, was a very disciplined and methodical scientist, and accomplished a lot of things. He worked on Apollo, and was noted for that. My grandfather was very innovative, and I guess that's more how I, succeeded in my career, is through innovation, maybe not as pure hard science. I'm more applied. So again, working with my grandfather on his farm and just seeing all the mechanical things, my first degree then became mechanical engineering. Just all the mechanical farm equipment was just absolutely fascinating. So that really, when I was a teenager, really led me into mechanical engineering. And then I worked as a pure out mechanical engineer for a number of years. And then I was working in manufacturing aluminum beverage cans. And then this guy pulls out this camera and a computer, and this was late 1980s, and starts taking images of the cans as they're going by, and had something that, if they were defective, could knock them out off of the conveyor line. Totally fascinated. I mean, and then right then I go, okay, I need to go to grad school and learn electrical engineering and be able to do this. And that's what I did, and what I've been doing now for the last 30 years, more or less. One is try to evaluate what really inspires you, what really gets your blood boiling, in choosing, for choosing a career. When you're young, that's really all you need to do is what inspires you, what kind of thing is out there. Don't worry about what money you're going to make or anything, but what really inspires you, and then set a path towards that. So let's assume that it's something science or engineering, Okay, so you decide that, just realize you're going to have to work very hard. It's mostly hard work. Hard work and persistence will outdo pure talent. A lot of kids feel that, I'm not talented enough, or that guy, he is so creative or talented, or, whatever, and I'm not sure if I have that. Don't worry about it. Hard work, and you'll get there. And that's something you have under your control. the inspirations and things will come, in time. So, as I said, I went to grad school and began working on, what's called computer vision, using cameras and connected to computers to evaluate things and decide if it's good or bad or characterize it somehow. And in my first job, I did a few projects with that. And I had success in grad school, and I was having success on my first job doing that. It was a very new field back in the late 80s, early 90s. And I got a job working for the Department of Agriculture and a grant to look at separating pistachio nuts that had a closed shell from an open shell. Everybody hates the ones that have a closed shell after your bag is, and then there's 5 of them in there that have a closed shell and you can't do anything with it. So it seemed like an easy project. Just find that split in the shell and identify them and knock them off the conveyor line. That's something that I had done already with other commodities and things. Well, it turned out it was a lot harder than I expected. I think what a lot of people expected. And so, but nevertheless, I made a machine that was doing it and was trying to improve it. And as you're working on the machine and running nuts through it, inevitably some of them fall down to the floor, right? So I got, I'm kind of frustrated with the machine, but I got so that when a nut hit the floor, I could tell without ever seeing it if it was open or closed shell by the sound that it made. And so then, I got the oscilloscope out and a microphone and connected the microphone to an oscilloscope, looked at the signal of a nut, of an open shell dropping and, impacting something, and a closed shell impacting something. And it was the signal in the oscilloscope was almost night and day. And I'm like, okay, I need to just quit looking at these nuts and start listening to them. And so I did, change direction a little bit for a while in my career, where I was using acoustics and vibrational sensors rather than images to characterize and detect things. We're starting to see signs with AI, and being able to type in a computer and it'll generate an image of whatever you describe, right? I think the next step would be to design a whole computer vision program system by typing in, like, I want to distinguish pistachio nuts with open shells and closed shells, with this camera or whatever, and type it in and have it do it. And, there are ways right now you can generate images of pistachio nuts with open shells, and I assume probably with closed shells, but they may not be that good. But that's going to get better. But then to have it, develop an algorithm to be able to distinguish those things and basically take someone like me out of the link, and like a data scientist, can do that. And then I think the advantage is then you would have more things like that doing, more automation, more quality control on things that can happen instead of, because right now it's very hard to do. It's just a hard thing to do well and to get implemented and everything. By having a system where you just describe what you want and it goes and does it would be really cool, I think. Work hard, that there's nothing about going into STEM that's going to be easy. hopefully you choose to go into it because you enjoy it and you like, you know, doing science, you like discovering things or innovating things, or even just doing things science based. So you enjoy that. Okay, that's enough. You're gonna have to work hard, and just know that going in, work hard and be persistent, and you'll be successful. Um, the other thing is diversity matters a lot. Um, every group that I've worked in that was diverse, that had some diversity into it, ultimately looking back, were the more creative groups. Just having people from other backgrounds, diverse backgrounds, um, just the way, chatting about things, approaches, how things are done. People do things different. The more diverse they are, then that is really one of the strongest things that will improve innovation. So if you are coming from, a diverse background, if you're coming from in, economically disadvantaged background, that will serve you well in your career with this. Just that different background and different way of seeing things, the hardships that you have to face every day will help you in your scientific career, guaranteed. My career is kind of characterized by innovation, and again, there's this perception that someone comes up with this idea and they run with it, and all is golden after that, and that is just so far from the truth. It's more like you come up with an idea, you run with it, and you hit a brick wall, and but you get through things by being persistent. And you don't. All of these ideas don't pan out. In fact, maybe most of them don't. But by being persistent and just working at it and not giving up, you do have some successes along the way. But it's difficult in your job and in your personal life, because it can kind of obsess you. You can be kind of manic about it. And so occasionally some burnout has been a problem, that maybe you made a hard push, you had this really great innovation and it came to fruition. You can be burned out after that. Or you might have a couple of them where you just work hard on something and it just didn't pan out. And that can also be discouraging. But at the same time, I want to emphasize it's a great career. That's just something to be concerned about, and to know that you have to work hard and be persistent. But it's very, very satisfying. I think most people I know that been in a STEM career of one form or another has been very happy that that's what they chose.